This morning on the program is Mr. Matongo Maumbi, the Zesco spokesperson. It's a pleasure to have you, the burning issue.
Good morning, and thank you very much for the invitation. And I'm already feeling hot from just the preamble. But I think we are equal to the task because we are here to provide information.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so, like I earlier said, I will do my burning issue different today. I will give the listeners
But why
more
change on
time.
me?
Because, you know, it's hot out there. It's hot. I don't want to be the one to burn because I know they will burn me. You know, you didn't let us talk to these people. We had so many questions. So basically, that's how it is. But my question, though, my first question will be, first of all, let me congratulate you on that appointment.
Thank you very
Well
much.
deserved. And we wish you all the best. I know your appointment it came at the time when no one loves Zesco anymore. I hope they will still love you as well.
The people you love to hate.
Would you give the listeners the outlook for this year's power supply, both domestic and commercial? Reason why is because there has been quite a lot of speculation. So if load shedding has to start now, if load management has to start now, even when we have a little bit of rains, what about August? What about October this year? You know, and these have been questions. Hence my asking you how the outlook for the rest of the year looks like.
Yeah, so thanks very much. It is a fact. Everyone is aware that we didn't have normal rains. We had below normal rains this year. So meaning that we don't have much water stored in the water basins that we use for power generation, specifically the Kariba and the Kafue. So with that, we were informed by the Zambezi River Authority. This is the entity that looks after the Kariba complex, where the Kariba is shared between Zambia and Zimbabwe. From that advisory that came from the Zambezi River Authority, they basically halved the amount of water they allocated to Zesco and our Zimbabwean counterparts if you compare to the previous season.
Right.
So the previous season we received about 15 billion cubic meters of water, and then this year they advised that we are going to receive 8 billion. So that is half already. And then besides that, they did say we can only generate up to about 214 megawatts of power at the Kariba. So with that and also other things that we have around the country, you look at the generation capacity, that is the installed capacity that we have in the country, currently stands at 3,600 megawatts. So if all things being equal, this includes even independent power producers like Maumbi and others, the combined power that we have in the country stands around 3,600. All things being equal, everything running, we have that capacity. And then now, the national demand stands around 2,300 megawatts. So if we are generating very well, we would have no problem to supply the 2,300 because we still have in excess of about 1,300 to support growing industries, growing mines, and growing businesses. Because the customer base is going higher. It could be the same customer, but their production is going higher. So we still have that capacity. And then now, with all these challenges, the Kariba, Kafue, low water levels and everything, we found ourselves in a situation where we have generation capacity right now of 1,600. So out of 3,600, we can only generate about 1,600. This gives now a difference of about 700 megawatts in terms of the power that is needed on average for consumption around the country. This is what brought about load shedding. So when the technocrats sat and made some forecasts in terms of how we can mitigate this power shortage. One of the measures that was advised for was to initiate load shedding as early as possible. Load shedding is basically a mitigating factor in terms of saving power, because if we have that deficit, it means if we run life normally, it means we'll run out of power, run out of energy to produce the power sooner than expected. So the projection was that if with this mitigation measure that we've put up with the load shedding and other measures that have been put up are to work well for the rest of the year, then this load shedding has to start at that time, and it did start. So the projection is that this will run up to the end of the year with the 8 hours. However, the consumption may be different from what we projected, because already we have a situation where residents, industries are consuming more power than they are supposed to. Because if you say for a residential customer, if you look at maybe you're spending 20 units a month when there is no load shedding, that is when you're using power normal at home, 20 units a month. But then now we are load shedding you for 8 hours a day, and you are still consuming 20 units. Then it means your consumption has gone high. Now imagine if those 20 units, we have a customer base of 1.3 million. Imagine just 500,000 of those get to also be in that line of what we can term that inefficient use of electricity. Then that means the shortage is becoming higher than what we projected. What that would mean is, because there are no inflows into the Kariba Basin and the Kafua as at now, it means that the water that we are using to generate is also depleting. It is depleting because, like for Kariba, once we generate, then it goes all the way down to the Indian Ocean. So with the depletion of that water, it means that the generation capacity is also getting to be reduced. So if we generate more power than we have planned for, it means that we will deplete the waters earlier than needed. So in order not to deplete the waters earlier than needed, we might find ourselves in a situation where we officially move from 8 hours, maybe to 10 hours or to 12 hours, so that we can have some kind of power at least during the day or whatever time of the day. Otherwise, if we are not energy efficient, we will lose too much power unnecessarily. Because we call it unnecessarily because you don't the load shedding should help us save. That's the whole essence of load shedding. That we save. That time when you're load shedding, it means even power generation has reduced, or in some instances has been halted because people are off. And then we turn it back on when we need to have power for other parts of the country. So the Zambezi River Authority did also make an announcement last week, Friday, indicating the water levels. And they did mention, what I picked out critically, is that this could be the lowest ever
in over 100 years
water levels on the Zambezi Basin, not the Kariba, no. People may confuse with the Kariba and the Zambezi water basin. Kariba is only about 60 years old, 60 plus years old. But in terms of the Zambezi River Basin, this could be the lowest that we could have in about 100 years. And then that means that we are in a very dire situation where we need to all take part and be very efficient in terms of the usage of electricity. They did also mention that the allocation that they gave us at the beginning of the year will stand. That is the 8 billion cubic meters of water. So the allocation of water that they gave us still stands for until they revise otherwise. So the revision, they may actually reduce because we don't have inflows that are coming. So what that means is that between Zambia and Zimbabwe, we have 8, Zimbabwe has 8. So Zimbabwe has to use 8, Zambia has to use 8 billion cubic meters of water for the rest of the year. So if for some reason we deplete that water, it means we will now eat up in the Zimbabwe allocation. And there are penalties that come because of that. And then also we would have run out of power before we even anticipate the next rain season.
Right.
So we need to brave ourselves and work together so that this energy that we have, we do conserve it up to the next rain season. And we do hope that in the next rain season, we do get some rains, because Zambia is predominantly hydropower. It is now that we are investing in alternative sources of energy, which may only go live in 2025. So those, we are not counting them in 2024. So in terms of mitigation measures, they may come in live in 2025.
What are they? Let's talk about them.
We have some solar grids that have been agreed upon with the independent power producers. So independent power producers, basically, it means those other independent people or entities that would want to produce power and sell to Zesco, and Zesco sells onwards to customers that we have. So there are quite a number of them that have been set up in around the country. But in terms of those that have started with construction, we have something in Serenge, about Outer Green. It's about 50 megawatts of power. Just in February, we launched something in Chisamba. It will be by Kariba North Bank. This is a subsidiary of Zesco, which will be, by full completion, it will be 200 megawatts of power. But the first phase, they are doing 100 megawatts of power. And this will only come live in the first quarter of 2025. Then others, they are not yet fully launched, but in terms of agreements, we've already entered into agreements to say, yes, we have agreed on a rate, we can buy power at this rate, and then you can start producing. And their job now is to secure the financing that they need to maximize and to capitalize the projects, so that in the coming few years, those come online. And we will our aim through the corporate leadership team is to reduce the dependence on hydropower from 87% to about 50%, so that if we are faced with such a disaster, we will not be so much hard hit, because we'll have alternative sources of power. So imagine if 50% is alternative sources of power, say solar. So during the day, we would run solar, and then during the night, we run the hydropower. So the two or the others will be complementary, as opposed to the situation that we have now, that 87%, which is almost 90%, reliant on water. And then we don't have enough water to run the turbines. And then we get to find ourselves in this situation where now we have to manage the load so that we are able to have some power to continue running the economy.
This, good as it may sound, news, there's a problem with the consumers. You know, the way you're putting it, alternative sources of energy that the Zesco or government through Zesco is investing in, was the case when, you know, Kafiwe Law came up, and it came to all of us as a solution to all the load shedding. Then the moment later, the citizens hears so much power is being exported, it's been sold. And now they feel, much as you are giving us this good news, it's most likely that most of this you will export and leave the citizens vulnerable. There's always this cry that, why are we selling before we are taken care
of? In terms of capacity, Kafiwe Gorge Lower indeed sorted the problem of not being able to experience load shedding when all things are equal. So satisfying the domestic market and also the international market, no problem at all. And then now, with this current situation which we have, it's not all the power that we're exporting to. It's not possible that we export all the power. So what we've done actually with the power that we're exporting, we've actually reduced the power that we're exporting to leave them with just essential power, that is lifeline power, that would power their hospitals, their mines, because these are agreements that are there. They are contractual agreements that are there. So the situation that we have right now does not yet warrant us to say, okay, now we are cutting off completely exports because of the contractual agreements, which if we abrogate them, they could be more costly than us continuing to supply power to them, bearing in mind that it is not at the level that we agreed upon. But within the contracts, there's a provisions to say when Zambia is faced with such a situation, then we are at liberty to reduce on the amount of power that we have to export. So that is what is happening, that we are, yes, exporting, but it's not as much as people are thinking. And with these exports, it's basically to support our neighbors, because we have the Southern African power pool where we support one another in terms of power, energy issues, so that if Zambia gets to have a crisis, then we can import power from Mozambique, which we are doing. Malawi did support us. Lundazi and Chama were not on supply for a long time, not even just a long time, since independence. So if you look at a situation where, as an example, Malawi also had issues in their country, or still have issues in terms of energy, but they still continued supplying power to Lundazi and Chama, despite them also having their own challenges, because Lundazi and Chama needed power. There are hospitals that are running there. There are some essential services that are running there. It could have been erratic, but it did come when it came, and that serviced the people of Lundazi and Chama and surrounding areas from as far back as independence time up to last December, when finally the Lundazi and Chama got connected to the national grid, which is serviced by Zesco. So it's the same situation where support your neighbor and you get to live better.
Are we getting support now in this crisis from our neighbors?
Yes, we are. We are actually getting some support from Mozambique since July or August last year.
Okay.
We do import power from there. And if you follow the news, just 2 weeks ago, when we hosted the 56th edition of the Southern African Power Pool Executive Meeting. On the sidelines of that meeting, actually, we took advantage of that meeting. And in the background, we'd been working on having the agreement that we have with the EDM of Mozambique, the Zesco of Mozambique, which is EDM, to increase the power that they are exporting to Zambia, which we are importing ourselves. So we're importing about 50 megawatts.
And how much are we exporting? I'm trying to think on behalf of a listener who says you export and import the same product.
Yeah. So we import at off-peak time power at the time when it is cheaper to subsidize the local market.
Right.
And then we export at a different time. So that agreement with EDM was actually amended to increase the power supply to 90 megawatts that is coming to Zambia. So those are some of the mitigation measures that have also been added onto the Zambian grid. And so we support a country like DRC, which has mines in the Kata region there. So if we turn off that power, it will be disaster in DRC.
But that's also a lot of forex for this country, no?
It is a lot of forex. It is a lot of forex for the country. So you look at also the economic benefit of the exports and the imports, because once we have that kind of transactions, economically the country benefits, the region benefits. So if we turn off DRC, the refugees will be coming into Zambia, and that's a bigger problem also. So you look at also what humanitarian activity is there in such transactions. And also, if you look at the tariff that we have in Zambia, we are not yet at a commercial level to say, okay, Zesco is commercially viable in terms of tariffs, especially for the customers, the residential customers. So we need to reach a point where we are saying, okay, this tariff is now commercially viable. We don't necessarily need to export. Yes, we have serious surplus, because right now the exports are able to subsidize the costs of the residentials, because the residential tariff does not match in terms of the production rate. That's where now the 5-year multi-tariff agreement was entered into with the Energy Regulation Board to see that the tariff in the coming 4 or 5 years gets to reach a stage where it can now be commercially viable. And when that happens, we are sure that it will also attract other investors in the energy sector, because right now, investing in energy is not very attractive because the rates are very low unless you are to supply to the big industries who really need the power and are ready to pay for that power.
My guest this morning on the burning issue is the Zesco spokesperson, Matongo Maumbi, and of course you too will be given a chance. And in fact, now it's time for you to call in and interact with our guest. Like I earlier announced, we We will do the burning issue slightly different today. I would like to give you, our listeners, more time to have a conversation with the utility company. So I'm opening the phone lines as early as now on 0955 221515, and also send us your messages on 0761 912493. That is for your SMSs as well as WhatsApp messages. Again, the number is 0761 912493. But for your phone calls, 221515. Let's take these calls now, and we've got one. Good morning and welcome to the program. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Okay, this is Moses calling you from Kembe.
Moses from Kembe.
Yes.
Please, Moses, go
Good
ahead.
morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
My concern is that we are given 8 hours. We've been on the shed for 8 hours, but mapesikati malaiti yazaenda kusenya then yazabwa kuma 17 yazabwera but kuti kuma 24 yamaenda so na mchiteko kusenya hapo but niko no Kembe vimachitika daily.
So at the moment, what is your schedule like? Just give me what your schedule like is today.
So apulide malaiti
Yaenda nkabwanje.
Yamaenda kuma 7 something but izapisikati yakabwera kuma 24 futi yazaenda which means yamaenda for more than 12 hours.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Moses, all the way from Kembe. Thank you very much for that. Remember, we are live on our partner radio stations as well. In Luapula, we are live on Tuta FM 90.7 and live in Kabwe, Central Province, on 91.1 on Spice FM, and live on 98.7 Wave FM in Mazabuka, covering the rest of Southern Province. Welcome to the burning issue. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
This is Mr. Simon. How are you?
Your name again?
Mr. Simon within Lusaka.
Simon from within Lusaka. Please go ahead.
Yeah. How are you, Zesco Spokesperson?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. In as much as I understand the issue about the drought, I think I just tend to wonder as in why here in Zambia we suffer so much when we've got a lot of water bodies from around the world, the country actually. Now, concern is if we can run the pipeline, this is the Tanzania pipeline all the way from the source to here, Zambia. Why can't we maybe do the same? Maybe we utilize these other water bodies that would feed into the Kariba so that we've got water throughout, whether there's a drought or there's no drought, but still the Kariba will still be filled up with water. Why can't we do that? We just venture into a serious project. I know it cannot maybe end today or tomorrow, but at least it's something that will help us out as a nation, whereby we should not be suffering from this such eventualities, whereby shedding like this, it's just not good. Why can't we do that? That's my question.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Simon, for that. And you too can call us or indeed send us a message. Remember, you're sending your messages to 0761 912493. And your calls are coming straight on 0955 221515. Our guest is Mr. Matongo Maumbi, who is the Zesco spokesperson. And we'll take more of your calls, like I promised, that we'll actually open the phone lines as early as possible so that you can voice your concerns. We have another one. Good morning.
Good morning, Zaki.
Good morning, Dr. Proud. How are you?
I was looking to meeting Matongo Maumbi. I will meet him today.
All right, great.
I will meet him in a hot FM. It's good you are talking, Character Champion was not talking. You are come to pressure to explain what the government is planning. But I want only to differ with you people in the energy. You work with that army. Our president is bringing thousands over this shedding. When I want a bishop of my Ravane to Kukopa, to them politicians over this road shedding. So if Zambia Army who doesn't ban up Fuji, Lerovari Maunga under Igbo building Itibaona. You move away to Kariba, go to Wapula. Tell your manager Mundende or whatever way, including back of Zambia Musokotwani, to pull out to reduce the quota Punkana Navato. Muzawana put now my Shazaka to Zesco. It but no vehicle, no budget, but you are going to money. Who's eating our money? So when Europeans go, you are also going to work, including your director, would it be that office? Because you have failed, you can't put the shedding into equipment. So you need to map up with Mozambique where
Proud, your line is getting bad, but thank you. I think we've gotten your message. Your line kept breaking. Again, the number is 0955-221515 if you would like to come through. And I think also there's a politician in Dr. Proud who thinks that all this is not doing a favor to his party in power and all. I understand that, but we will respond to that. Maybe let me give you that opportunity to respond to those three concerns.
All right, thank you very much. When we look at the load shedding that we are doing, it's actually unavoidable. And the way we've started early enough, people will get to appreciate in the long run that indeed we did well to start early in terms of for managing the load. The reality is that we don't have the energy to generate electricity. That's a fact, an undeniable fact. And yes, we may argue that
when you say we don't have the energy to produce electricity, in this case you are referring to water.
Water,
right?
We don't have that water, and at this time we haven't invested that much in alternative sources of energy.
Right.
That's where earlier on I was talking about the projects that we want to embark on, and some of them have already started kicking in terms of ensuring that we do have alternative sources of energy away from hydro. Because if the reliance is on hydro and we have a situation like we have now, we'll continue having load shedding year in, year out, as we've been having it way before. Away from the current government, the previous government, and other governments before that. These situations have been there. However, if we get to do projects and have them detached from short-term kind of mindsets, where we get to look at the long term, because if you look at putting some hydropowers in serious hydropower stations in the northern region of the country, it's not a one-year project. That is, it's a couple of years. So if we get to set our mind to say, okay, next 5 years, let us secure the funding, let us ensure that we do proper feasibility, we do proper environmental assessment, and all the parameters that need to be taken care of, and that we do put up a hydropower that will add value to what we have down in southern. But again, that will not solve the entire solution, because even those water bodies that are up there can also dry up the way the ones in southern province have dried up. So we'll still move to the same problem, just prolonging the problem. But when we do invest in more alternative sources of energy, that way we will be able to mitigate such challenges that we are having. And we do have a number of projects that should be coming online next year, 2026, 2027, going forward. Once those do materialize, then we'll be in a better place. And then we focus to say, like Proud I said, that if this government goes out in 2026, then the next government that will come. So if the next government that comes, I'm not speaking on behalf of government, by the way. So if the next government that comes decides to abandon the projects that would have been done by this current government, then we'll be back to square one. So we need to reach a situation where some of the things we don't tie them politically, but we look at the national value, so that we get to move at a situation where it doesn't matter if this current government starts a good project, and then because we don't like this government, we don't like Matongo, who is an employee of one of the subsidiaries for government, and then once the other team comes into power, say, okay, this we're doing it this way, us we're not going to do this. We're abandoning all these projects, we're starting afresh. That is where we will get it wrong. And I think that's where we've been getting it wrong some of these times. So we need to make sure that we get alternative sources of energy, and green energy for that matter. Hydro is one of the best green energies that we have, but it has these limitations. There was a concern on saying, why don't you do water canals like we have the pipes? I think for pipes it's much easier because it runs underground and you move away. So in terms of canals, from what I understand, this discussion was started some years back. How it died, I don't know. But in terms of looking at canals, you are looking at the different geographical kind of things. We have more hydropower in Southern Province because the terrain and the elevation in Southern is very good for such projects, hydropower. And then in the upper parts of the country, it's not very favorable. It's doable, but not favorable. I'm not saying it's impossible. So you look at the distance also and the elevation. You look at which rivers are you going to target for you to divert some of the water to these other water bodies where we have got these hydropowers. And they are, we are jumping into districts, chiefdoms, and all those things. So it's quite a very laborious, time-consuming, and very expensive undertaking that goes with the canals. And also the maintenance of the canals is also another cost, because the distances would definitely be very long. And then you look at also the elevation of the rivers. In which direction are they moving? Will they support the flow of water in the canals? Because you may want to put a canal and then the elevation does not allow for gravity to be so efficient to put down the waters. Then you look at also the environmental impact. The Zambia Environmental Management Agency, ZEMA, they will take keen interest. How are you going to bring damage or improvement to the environment? So you look at all those to say, how are they going to disrupt the ecosystems? How are they going to disrupt the habitats? The people need to be moved. Maybe it will need to cut into a national park. How are we going to manage that? So the diverted waters could potentially also harm the ecology of many rivers, and then this would also bring harm potentially to the destination water bodies. And also what I had talked about earlier is the political landscape also has to be considered. Transferring water between regions can be a complex political issue. In this region, they'll say, no, we don't want this. Why should this water flow to Southern Province? Why don't you just let it be here? Or because the flow from what we have here, Zambia starts in Northwestern Province. The river flows all the way down through Southern Province, all the way to Mozambique. So you look at also the power plays that are there politically among the regions, and sometimes maybe the canal may have to pass through another country. So it's important that as we look at all these things, we do get to look at all those kinds of things. So the discussions could be going on, but not yet at a level where there is enough information to share to say, okay, this is what has been done. We may want to do this. But the talk in terms of alternative energy, that talk is very much there. And not just the talk, but the work is being done. And you could have seen that one of the independent power producers, Cobalt Energy Corporation, they did launch another solar plant, which the president did launch last week. So when that gets to be added to the national grid, it will support especially the economic hubs that we have in this country, especially the mines, to support them with power so that the country continues to run and be viable economically.
Let's turn to Moses, who spoke from Kembe about how 8 hours quite all right, but later on again they get load shedded. I mean, are they getting more than what is supposed to be allocated?
So typically, load shedding is at the moment the guide is that we do at least 8 hours in a day. Okay, so earlier on I talked about the difference in consumption. So when consumption gets to be too high, it means we need to conserve more power by load shedding a bit more in some areas. So that could be one of the reasons. The other reason could be it could be a maintenance thing where there could be a fault. And when we have such, it means that the hours could be extended, or it will seemingly look like it's been extended. But the consumption has definitely been bad, that we have observed. If you come to our control center and you look at the live consumption of electricity, if we say Power FM, we say we are going to give you 100 watts or whatever to spend per day, and then the time you're running all your systems, you're at 150. It means now the allocations that we have around the country have been messed up, because now there's need to balance up that power, because once we overuse, then we'll run out of power. So it could be a case where there is a overuse of electricity in some sector, and then in order to balance up the available power that we have, that we still remain with enough power for the rest of the year. That could be one of the reasons that.
So make me understand what I'm getting from you is, in these inconsistencies that you are having in as far as load management schedule is concerned.
And just before you continue, these inconsistencies are not 100%. So the customers should know that these inconsistencies are not in every place. It's just in a few places.
So these same few places that you're talking about, from what I'm understanding from you, is, I'll give you a practical example. So if Chilenge is due to get power at 10, it delays to get power at 10, it gets it at 10:30. It simply means that in Kanyama, at the time you were supposed to load shed them, consumption was so high that you could not supply Chilenge at 10.
No, that's just one example of a scenario that could be there. So if in Chilenge, the load is, so the consumption load is for the live lines, not the ones that are off supply.
So the reason why Chilenge will get power back at 10:30 instead of 10 hours, is it because somewhere else where it's live, there is mismanagement?
It's a possibility
of power.
Yes. So you look at where can we a bit extend and where can we cut off so that this line is stable. Because if there's overconsumption on the line, on the grid, then and you turn on another line at the same time, which is around the same area. So it means that grid will be very unstable. You can notice that sometimes power would come back maybe 10:01. To say we shall be 100% effective, I think that's not guaranteed. That would be over ambitious, even just in personal life. You are supposed to talk to me for 10 minutes, but the matter has been interesting, and we have exceeded.
Indeed.
So there are those some unforeseen circumstances that we get to experience. So there is need for grid stability for us to provide safe electricity to the community. There are times when power is restored within the shortest time, like maybe it's 10 hours, maybe 10:01, 10:03, 10:10, power is restored. Minutes later, you see sparks, especially, you see sparks in transformers, because the lines now start tripping. There's an overload. Now, the system will think of protecting itself by tripping. If the human didn't see that kind of overload that is needed, then the system itself will protect, kicks in to protect itself. And then in that instance, when it trips in some areas, because the turning on and off is not, it's automatic, then it means now you have to do it manually. You have to find that which has tripped, and if you have to assess if there's been any damage, and if there's any damage, you have to repair. If you have the spare parts, you repair right there and then. If not, you outsource, or you source the spares, and then you get to restore power in the quickest possible time.
Let me read you a message. It's from our partner radio station in Mansa, Tuta FM to be precise. It says, morning, Matongo, and congratulations on your new position. Kindly answer the following for me. 1, you have not answered how much power you are exporting or selling. 2, kindly explain why in Mansa some areas are restricted to only 2 schedule plans when the schedule by Zesco clearly provides for 3 rotary schedules. This unfair treatment has resulted in the affected areas taking the brunt on the power loss, while others are enjoying and business are seriously limping. Is this fair?
Could you read the second question better? Or again?
Kindly explain why in Mansa some areas are restricted to only 2 schedule plans when the schedule by Zesco clearly provides for 3 rotary schedules. Do you get that?
I'm assuming that would be rotational.
Rotational schedules.
Yeah.
I am assuming so too. So he says this unfair treatment has resulted in the affected areas taking the brunt of the power loss, and while others are enjoying the business, and these are seen to be unfair.
Okay. In terms of the power exports and the imports, I don't have the exact figures. I don't want to be misquoted,
right?
Because I know people these days are very fast in saying the spokesperson said this amount. I may miss by 2 figures and then I get crucified by people.
Indeed.
So I would need to get the exact figures in terms of
how much we are exporting. Right.
Because when you look at the power that I was talking about, it includes everything that we are spending as a country.
Right.
Yeah, whether it's imports, exports, or domestic use. So in terms of the rotational, I would need to get the exact logic with the area managers for Mansa.
Yeah.
But I'll look at a situation where if I understand the rotational part very well, I can give an example of Lusaka, where it's ideally 6. The next schedule should kick in at, is it 10? That is for residentials. 6, 10, and I think 14. Yeah. So now we have a situation like where you have the industries, where you have commercial entities, where you've got farmers who also have a different preference in terms of wanting power supply or off supply. For the farmers, for the farming community, that is the major farming communities, which we call as maximum demand, who use a lot of electricity for their farming, they prefer that they be off during the day. So now, during the day could mean from 8 to 16, they are off supply. And then from 16 to the following day, they are on supply. The industry, some prefer to operate throughout the day, and then they're off supply in the evening. Now, the design of the electricity grid, the transmission grid that we have in Zambia, is not for this kind of activity that we are doing, the load shedding. You will find that one area, it's a residential, but the line that is feeding that residential line is a business line, is a commercial line. So when we do load shed the business line, the other line gets to be affected because they are on a line that is dedicated for commercial. Also the other way around, there are some businesses that have found themselves in areas where the line is residential. So when we give the residential kind of load shedding, they also get affected in that aspect. But in terms of the nitty-gritties of the direct concern that he has, that they have just been doing 2 points, rotational points, I would assume that if power goes at 6, and then the following week it goes at 10, again it goes at 6, again at 10, maybe that is what is trying to explain. And then maybe they don't get to experience the night shedding, or they don't experience one of the 3 that is there. So I would need to engage with our regional manager to have an actual answer for that one. Thank you.
Great. I'll take some more calls on 0955-221515. Our guest is Matongo Maumbi, who is Zesco spokesperson. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
Fine.
Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Hello?
Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Is it a live legend?
This is 5FM.
Yes, 5 FM. I wanted to talk to the marketing department.
Okay. You can call the same number, but 0211.
0211?
Yes, please. Right. And let's see if we can get another caller. This time around, not looking for business, but to talk to Zesco. Please do so now on 0955-221515. And send us your messages also on 0761-912493. Let's take this one. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. Your name, sir, and where are you calling us from?
My name is Fumpa. I'm calling you from Mansa.
Chisumpa or Chipumpa?
Fumpa.
Chisumpa.
Fumpa.
Fumpa. F-U.
Fumpa. Oh, great. Fumpa from Mansa. Thank you very much for calling us. How is Mansa? Is it raining?
Mansa is fine. How is Lusaka?
Lusaka is not raining today, but we are okay.
We are enjoying that blessing.
Please go ahead, sir.
Just a quick contribution over the issue of Zesco and load shedding.
Right.
People have talked and say this, we can tap water from Luapula, from these rivers, lakes around our country. That thing, I said in my view, it's a non-starter, and you can't do that. And people have surveyed because our panelists were saying, Jamaji Classical, all those things. People can talk in Beba with Okulanda Kwanyanguka. Because what I know is we can't fight with nature. As you understand, our photo of Zesco, power from Kariba and Kafiwe. It's where I think the surveyors and technocrats and people in that field is suitable to say power can generate from here. Yes, but to my view is I think the previous government started the solar thing. The solar panel, I saw it was being shown in Bangalore and I think you started, is not so.
It is.
And we just have to understand we can't fight with nature. When we have rain, we don't have load shedding. When we have enough rain, we enjoy electricity. Now our country and the people talk, no, it's political, no, Walungu na Wanwane, Shimkariba, all those things the people can say, no.
Kasundire anymore.
You know, it's very, you know,
and it's usually the Bembas that keep talking about these things. Yeah, but
and you know, and what I can appreciate to our company, to the current government, is we can see where the previous government ended about if you can invest in solar, it can help us.
True.
Those people to China and appreciate the way in Lusaka, we are disconnected this street lights and the television from national grid. We put solar. Yes, if our home can be at least the current government can help us. Maybe each household, maybe solar, as we are saying, our boss is saying at night we are national grid. In the morning and in the mid-morning, we don't use much electricity. Let's just understand, we don't have rain. Instead of politicizing everything, I think what my prayer is, even here in Luapula, we have so much water bodies and the forces. People have gone there. We can't let water from their power. Yes, we have Musonda. Musonda, it was upgraded. Now we don't have power. And as the boss was saying that we help our friends in Congo. If we switch off Congo, then we are putting ourselves to be in an enemy so far. But what we understand is, let's just understand the nature. The nature, God has spoken. We don't have rain, There's no politics. And what I can say in short is to say, if the current government can help us, each government which comes, we look about what other alternatives can we use. Maybe solar can help us. Like here, we are buying this from MTN just to light up our homes during the night when we don't have power. I think that was my contribution. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fumpa, and greetings to the people of Mansa. Otherwise, very valid contribution. Now, I've got a question. Morning. There will be dewatering of shaft 28 in Elwansha. So, as Zesco, do you have any plans of channeling that water to Kariba if there is a way to do so? This seems from within Lusaka. Interesting conversation. But let me take another call. Good morning, and welcome to the program. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
I'm Chindu. I'm calling you from 15 miles.
Chindu.
Yes, it's Chindu.
Please go ahead.
I'll find out from the guest there. How long does it take one to be connected to the national grid after payment?
Okay.
Yes.
Have you done that? Or you plan?
Everything has been done. I've been waiting to the third year now.
So your question should be, when are you getting connected? Because you have paid 2 years now down the line. But thank you very much. He will respond to that question very soon.
Thank you very much, sir.
Great. While you're at that question, I have one more from Facebook. It's a similar concern. This one is from a listener, King Listo Zuide Silimi. So Mr. Silimi says, good morning, Zach, and good morning, Mr. Maumbi. I'm a resident of Minwood, Ndeke, Phase 1, near Madido police post. I registered a complaint with your Zesco customer care staff and given a complaint number, which he has stated on Facebook, complaint number 2926 4461. 2926 4461 for a unresponsive interface with the prepaid meter. This problem was reported on 31st March 2024. Up to date, no person has ever come to our rescue. Have talked to Chadley officers' staff, but still no help is forthcoming. What is needed to receive good help from your services? Do I need to bribe someone to come over here and rectify a fault on company property? My line is, he's put the number there. We will get it, and he needs your help. So maybe I will give you his number and see how you can have that issue addressed. I thought I should bring in that concern because I think it's similar to delayed connection to the grid, even having paid for that. Well, we lost it. We were almost picking up a call, but let's see if we can squeeze in one more call, and then we can respond to the rest. Hello, good morning, and welcome to the program. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Bazaki na imwe kukokola bazaki yajuwika mafoni nimakokola bazaki.
Please go ahead.
Wa Matongo mulishani.
Tulika woto mulishani.
Ndife bwino. Elvis on the line, Mr. Matongo. We meet again on this podium.
Thank you.
Yeah. I just want you to I think this program very late. If you have talked about the 300 connection fee, I want you to sensitize the people and rectify, because I heard someone saying you are connecting electricity at the 300, not knowing that maybe it's those who are already connected and they want meter separation. There you should clarify, because some people have got it wrong that you are connecting at 300. The second one, Mr. Matongo, is when we have this schedule, Mr. Matongo, sometimes it goes beyond the 8 hours. It was going beyond the 4 hours. What was the problem? The third one, Mr. Matongo, is how much capacity do you have at the Kariba North and this Kafue Gorge? How much electricity generation are you doing as at now? Is it 100 or is it 200? What's the capacity which you are able to produce now, and which you are exporting and which we are using internally here? I want your answer, Mr. Matongo. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'll let you respond to those.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think we'll start with Fumpa from Mansa.
Right.
I think he basically talked about what I was sharing earlier in terms of the elevation of the landscape and everything like that, in terms of doing the canals or getting waters from the other end. So those are some of the geographical kind of problems that we have, or challenges that we have. So the best alternative that we have is looking at getting alternative sources of energy. So when we talk of alternative, my energy is derived from solar, from hydro, from water. So it means the other energy that I need should not have anything to do with water.
Yeah.
It should have something to do with something else. So that energy mix is what is critical. That is what we really need as a country, so that when one fails, the others supplement on the others, so that we have that kind of mix, which we are actively working on. Come next year, I think the picture will start changing, and then we'll be able to point to say this is now active, is live, and is contributing in this manner. And the dewatering at shaft what?
Shaft 28 in
Shaft 28
in Wansha, yes.
Yeah, I would just imagine where I would have that water pass and reach our water basins. Every water that we can get is important, but there are dynamics in terms of that.
Yeah.
Then we come to Mr. Muchindu from 6 Miles. So ideally, when one applies for connection by the standards set by the I was almost saying regulation board, energy regulation board, the ERB, is that for standard connection, it should take no more than 90 days, or 30 days, or things being equal. So some, they are connected the following day, 2 days, up to 30 days. So when you talk of standard connection, it means there's already a pole by where you want electricity from. So it's just a matter of dropping from that pole into the house or the business that you want to be connected to. So that cable, on average, is not more than 30 meters from the pole. So a distance of not more than 30 meters. Then we've also got what is a non-standard. So non-standard is where we have now to bring in poles to say we are here at 5 FM, but then the nearest point where there's electricity is, say, maybe at the Zambia Daily Mail there. So we can't run a line straight to your house here because it would drop to the ground. So it means we need to place some poles in between so that we bring electricity to your house. So that is a non-standard kind of connection. Ideally, that should take 90 days. So the non-standard one has been is being outsourced by independent contractors. So the challenges that are there, we find that the contractors don't have the materials. But suffice to say that despite that, we are, I think from the time this current corporate leadership team at Zesco got into office, we've been able to dismantle a lot of the backlogs in terms of connections that have been pending. I think now we are standing at, from about 67,000 in 2021, we are standing at less than 10,000 in terms of those that need to be connected, that already paid, and what that they're waiting for is electricity to reach their houses. So there have been quite a number of challenges, especially when it comes to dealing with the contractors, who sometimes they end up not showing up, or they get to disappear. So there are a lot of kind of challenges, but would urge you to visit our regional office that are in different towns, either area office or regional office, and make a follow-up, and then we see where the matter is, because now there are listings that are there info, how are they lined up in terms of being restored, so that they see that are they on the list or they are not on the list. So that if they are not on the list, then they make a follow-up saying, why am I not on the list when I did actually pay, like in this case 3 years ago, which is way too long. because we could have been earning some money from that customer who has been connected to that. Then the one you...
I think that was Elvis.
Elvis. No, before reach Elvis. I noted something on... no, it's a Sirime is the message, eh?
Yes, the message.
Yes, the message from Mino Dondeke.
That's right.
That was about a complaint he lodged in on 31st
That's
March.
right.
No, that's very unfortunate. I wouldn't understand why would not have attended to such from 31st March, because today is the 16th. That's looking at 2 weeks beyond. That is even beyond our appreciation. No need for corruption. Actually, Zesco is a zero tolerance to corruption. So if you encounter any member of staff who actually wants, maybe they are doing a delay because they want to receive extra pay, that is very much against Zesco. We have an integrity committee, Zesco Integrity Committee, that aims to fight corruption internally and also corruption that comes externally, so that we get rid of any form of corruption within the corporation. And if there has been any instances of such, then please, we urge you to report to the Zesco Integrity Committee, and then we'll follow it up. I'll get the details from Zach, and then I'll make a follow-up, and we'll give you a call on what exactly is happening.
Right.
What you can do as a favor, just recheck if that complaint number is still active, because sometimes you find that there is a general complaint in that area, and then the bigger fault has been worked on, and then power is restored. Then you find individuals that still experience some problems. So they'll find that in the system it will say resolved because the general problem has been resolved. And then now you need to report again for another fault to say now,
which may be specific,
which will be very specific, so that once that is closed, now we open a new one to say, okay, now the general one is done. There are still some specifics. Sometimes it's quite strenuous, but it's very important that we do get to report when we have these specific kind of outages. And then we have about Elvis. So on the capacity that we have, I generalized it to look at the current generation capacity at 1,600. I don't have the individual breakdowns, and I'm one person who's very careful in terms of numbers. I don't like missing out numbers. So the general or the combined generating capacity that we have at the moment is 1,600 against a demand of 2,300, but the installed capacity, we are standing at 3,600 as a nation. Then what Elvis talked about, the 300 kwacha, I would say he is correct that there are some connections that are happening at 300 kwacha. This is in the Lusaka Transmission and Distribution Rehabilitation Project, the LTDRP last mile. So last mile, if you noticed, some power stations in Lusaka were being upgraded in the last couple of years. So the upgrade was basically to improve the transmission and distribution network within Lusaka, because you have areas which are very high density, but then when you look at the power connections that are there, they are in such a mess that sometimes you find that from one transformer, which may need to service maybe 20 customers, is servicing maybe 50 customers. Some of them being even illegal connections, because there's no room for moving around, maneuvering, because the transmission and distribution line was not as upgraded as the population has grown. So the Lusaka transmission and distribution rehabilitation project has reached what is called the last mile, and this project is mainly targeting some communities in Lusaka. It's not all the communities in Lusaka. It's some 8 communities in Lusaka. With the funding for this project came from the European Union. So when you look at this one, I'm just trying to get the specific areas that we are targeting. But I know at the end of the project, we are looking at connecting up to 63,000 new customers from this project with a grant from the European Union. So the way this grant works is that it provides a subsidy to connection. So we have the individual customers that will be connected. We have public infrastructure. We also have small the medium, small and medium enterprises, those small and medium enterprises, the businesses that will be connected at subsidized rates. So what this simply means is that the European Union gave Zesco up to about 7 million euro. This 7 million euro is to ensure that the people do contribute a little bit of something to the connection, but then the rest, they would have paid for it already. And then once that person qualifies for connection, then it means they can be connected without a problem. So the idea is to provide the reliable and safe electricity to those communities, and also light up the community and ensure that we get to capture as much of customers as possible. So for individual connection, residential connections, yes, it is true. It is standing at 300 kwacha. So what the people in those areas need to do is to visit our customer care offices and to check if they qualify. They have to check if they qualify. If they qualify, then they are given an application form, they get to apply, and then the connection procedure moves on. So that one is a guaranteed kind of project which is happening in Lusaka, looking at 8 communities in Lusaka. And then for the public social service, public infrastructure, like maybe schools, clinics, maybe some people have put some clinic or a school, some small and medium businesses, those the connection fees are standing at 800 kwacha. So it is only in the qualifying areas and not the whole of Lusaka. So I hope that within, I don't know what's happening with my laptop to open the actual document which has the names, then I'll be able to share which actual places.
Let me then move to quickly move to the text message which I have here. Morning, Mr. Maumbi. I have a problem with Zesco here in Kabwe. We paid long time ago, last year, but I'm wondering, some new houses have actually been connected to the national grid. I don't know what criteria are your people using. Please help us here in Kabwe. This is Mumbala in Makululu, to be precise. Thank you very much, Mumbala, for that text. You can call us. Our guest this morning is the Zesco spokesperson in Mr. Matongo Maumbi. So call us on 0955-221515 if you have any question. Now let's, as we wait for the phone calls and text messages, let's discuss the issue of the schedules for load management. You were on 8. You went to 4 twice a day. You are back on 8. What has necessitated this change? Because now the people are saying they were better on the 4 by 2.
Some were saying yes, some are saying no. So anyway, before I come to that one, I found the information that I needed from Elvis.
Right.
So the areas in Lusaka that are benefiting from, so this was after a feasibility study was done, and then the areas were identified to be the low income, high density kind of places. So we have Mutendere East, we have Chainda, we have Kamanga, we have Ngwerere, Mandevu, Garden, John Howard, and Chawama. So I remember before joining Zesco, our offices were in Kabulonga, and almost every day we would have some power blackouts, and I didn't understand how and why. When that time there was not even any talk of load shedding. But then I got to learn that actually it was because of this same project where they were expanding the substation that feeds places like Mutendere East, to expand it so that it is able to have, it has the capacity to supply to more people. So this project is active now as of 11 March. So the people in Lusaka in these areas should actually go to the customer care office and then customer service offices and then get to see if they qualify, they get the application forms, they get to apply, then the process moves on like that. So in terms of the load shedding, we started with 8 hours on 11 March.
Mm-hmm.
And then within that week, we received quite some backlash to say 8 hours is too long, that we need some relief in form of staggering it from some sections of the society. That noise was quite
loud
deafening.
enough. Yeah,
it was loud. And so the technocrats in the third week decided that, okay, let's try out the 4-hour thing. Unfortunately, and as much as our intention was very good, the unexpected challenges were quite tremendous. And in some areas, they would go off. We could have some technical challenges. They would go off for an hour, 2, and then at the end of the day, you find that someone is being load shed for 10 or so hours or more hours. So again, we received a backlash from some sections of society in Osaka. By the way, this 4-hour thing was only being done in Lusaka, not throughout the country. So it was only a Lusaka thing that we had this. So after the backlash of the 4 hours, because of the many challenges that we did experience, the technical team decided that we get back to 8 hours. But this is on the background that we are doing a survey from last week or the other week, where we are simply asking the customers, not any member of the public, the customer, to say, Zach, do you want 8 hours? Do you want 4 hours times 2? And then this is running up to the end of the month. It is being done through our customer call center. When people call in, they get to be asked that question,
right?
Because it means if someone calls in our customer care line, it means they are a customer of ours. Then they get to give us to say they want 8 hours or they want 4 hours. But we also have a link that is shared on the Zesco Limited page, where we're asking the same question to say, do you want 8 hours or do you want 4 hours times 2? So this is running up to almost the end of the month. The last week of the month, we'll have a serious look at the poll results, the survey results, and then get to see, okay, the people have said we want this. Is this something that we are doing? Is this something that is manageable? Yes. Then let us do it from 1st May. Then we'll have a fixed kind of load shedding time frame up to the time this period of load shedding ends. The only thing that will remain now is the rotational thing. But if we say it's 8 hours, it will be 8 hours. If we say it's 4 hours, then it will be 4 hours, unless some dynamics change and we have to make adjustments accordingly.
Fair enough. Well, let me see if I can take some more calls. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Bazaki.
Mkwaya, how are you?
I'm okay, and how are you?
Fine, thank you. Your name, sir, and where are you calling us from?
I'm Felix Mkuka, calling
Yes.
from Matero.
Felix from Matero.
Yeah, Mr. Maumbi, how are you?
I'm all right, Mr. Mukuka. How are you?
I'm fine. First and foremost, I would like to appreciate you for the complaint that I wrote earlier on when you were on a certain program. We used to have the 8 hours load shedding in Matero area from 18 hours to 02. But now this time, the schedule is changing. Thank you so much for responding to my complaint that I raised. Now, you talked that you are, at the moment, you are just able to generate the capacity of 1,700 megawatts. Is it only hydro or including other sources of energy like coal? Do you, at the moment, get any megawatts from Mamba Coral, or is it just you are only spending on hydropower? Thank you so much.
And before you go, Mr. Felix, I would like to get a survey. Would you prefer 8 or 4 hours by 2?
Mr. Maumbi, you have done a good thing. You know, when you staggered that 8 hours load shedding into 4 hours, it brought a lot of complaints, and it brought a lot of disturbances to the SMEs. People like welders, barber men and women. They complained that they were not able to work properly. You know, if a customer customer goes to the welder, he wants the road make them or rid of them for him. He can't plan properly in that stage whereby power comes after 4 hours, then after 4 hours comes. Now, if the welder knows that we have been given the 8 hours road shedding, he'll be able to plan properly according to his business, and he will know what to tell the customers. He will work effectively within that 8 hours without knowing that if it goes within 4 hours, they don't know even how can someone do a proper work within 4 hours. At least 8 hours, somebody can do a proper job. Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you.
Is there anything that you want to inquire?
No, it's fine. We appreciate your thoughts. Thank you.
Yes, 8 hours with the chair.
Great. Thank you. Right. And of course, 0955221515 for your contribution. Good morning.
Zake.
Mabweranso.
Apa munimvera manje.
Tikumverani va proud.
Yeah, Maumbi takupokererani. As a spokesperson wa Zesco, as a community wa muziko or wa mugarden or man. Now kukaje ku topic tifuna mu mututandizia. Foma yatu
Foni yanu yambovuta futa proud.
Nikazandapa.
Nkasako yeye.
Kapena bisini wamina idiot. Safuna nikambe.
Tieni nayo
Facebook na kamba ba Maumbi takupokererani. Nani kumisi na kunkana na spokesperson. So mwaita press mwane manali wakapata. We want bantu bose benza bazisebenza. Kalista wanamukuta kitu anakangwa kubona ku radio.
Va proud osa panostika mbabantu. Kambani vuto yanu yane muri nayo pamaraiti. We don't have it, unfortunately.
Just for the record,
yeah,
I did not replace Mr. Chitampa. Mr. Chitampa is still
yes. I think people mistake
corporate affairs.
Mistake the corporate affairs and spokesperson. But all the same, let's get to your survey, for example. I mean, so far, how is it doing? Where is it leaning to?
Last week, I haven't gotten it this week. I don't want to get it this week because it will sway my discussions.
Right. But as of last week,
I'm also an interested party because I get affected by load shedding.
I can give you mine. Let's go. Let's do 4 by 2. Let's do 4 by 2.
For me, both were working well.
Yeah.
Having experienced both of them, they're working well.
So there's a business argument to that, and I'll tell you that if a welder is given 4 hours during the day, they would actually utilize it, and they can choose that they will work half day, but very productive.
Yes.
Compared to if they are load shedded from 6 to whatever time, that's like a lot of time, no productivity. So there were people who were feeling that whatever 4 hours, they could actually utilize it well to the maximum and be able to appreciate. But 8 hours also has its own arguments.
Also within that, there were some actually others who were saying, isiwa mdala, mukatijuba 4 hours, pajapea take a business kuti sevenze, mwajuba futi malait.
Yeah.
So they are both.
Right.
So personally, I would go for both. If I had an option, I'll say just 4 hours, Milo do 8 hours the other day. But then it depends on what time I'm home. Sometimes we forget that there are people at home because we're at work. We say, 8 hours, if it's during the day, it's okay. We forget there are people at home, or 4 hours and things like that. So as of last week, when we started the survey, I think the first 2 days we were more like
balanced.
Yeah.
You're getting 50-50
50 kind of things. But the marketing team were telling me that it is changing. It is leaning towards something. And I told them not to tell me because I'm an interested party. I want to know the final results, because if even now, if I were to say these are getting this, some people may be swayed to say, let's just vote like the others. So please, let's visit our Zesco page. If you haven't liked the Zesco page, please do like that page, because that's where we also post some of the updates that we get to have in terms of when we have an unexpected power interruption. We do get to post on Facebook so that the people get to know, besides also doing SMS communication. So also our customers are urged to join the SMS notification system. It doesn't cost you anything. You just register, and then when we have some activity in your area which you need to be aware of, an SMS will be generated, and then you get to receive an update there and then. So just follow the same. You can register through the website, or you can register through *3600#, *3600#, where you have the prompts there, and then you see where to check. That's why you can also check where your load shedding is, option 5. Then you check which area you're in. Always have your meter number handy, because if, Zach, you don't have any meter installation, then we don't consider you as a customer, because our customers are those that have meters legally connected from Zesco. And then you get to have also other services that we provide as Zesco.
Well, we'll take this call. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, I'm well. Your name, sir, and where are you calling us from?
I'm Timothy Zula. I'm calling from Garden Park.
Timothy from Garden Park. Please go ahead.
Yes. We have an issue where we are. It's a newly connected community, because it's also new.
Yes.
It's along 7070 New Ring Road.
Yes.
The issue is this. The transformer that they've put, let me say we have low voltage, the entire community. Yes, it's 120, 120, 124, maximum 125. 2 weeks ago, some Zesco came to try and try the problem, but nothing, still having the same problem. My microwave cannot even work. Some residents, the fridges cannot even work. Talking of the stove, it's even worse. So we don't know what's happening with Zesco. If at all the transformer is not up to the capacity of the residents, why can't Zesco come in and change the transformer? Because this has been going on for as long as I can remember. So we need your help from our side, so that this transformer can give us a bigger capacity, so that we can also do work. Because like some of us, we work from home. Our production is home. We depend on good supply of Zesco. Once the voltage is low, it's difficult. There are some shops that depend on they sell fish. Once the fridges are not working, it's starvation. So we need Zesco to come in and help us, because low voltage is not helping us at all.
I would request that you give us a call off when we are done with the program, so that I can get your phone number and some other details, so that we can follow it up nicely. I wouldn't want to expose your phone number to the public.
Yeah. So you can probably SMS it on the same number that you called.
Thank you.
On the same number.
Yeah, just send an SMS
we'll follow that up.
of your names. Right. Thank you.
Including my name?
Yes.
All right, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Timothy.
Right. There you have it. 0955-221515 is the number that you're calling us on. Let's take this one. We have Mr. Matongo Maumbi as our guest, Zesco spokesperson. Good morning. Your name and where you calling us from?
Morning. How are you, Mr. Moderator?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you today?
Hello?
Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear us?
Hello?
Yes, can you hear us?
Yeah, I'm able to get you now.
Yes, your name and where you calling us from?
Yeah, this is Philemon from Chiturika, Zambia.
Philemon, please go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, spokesperson. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you. No, we are listening and we are learning. And I'm glad that you have clarified the issue of Ama Canal from Kafue River and the like in this.
Yeah, your line is bad. We keep losing you, but we appreciate. Let's let's discuss the. I would like us to recap on what government through Zesco is doing in as far as investing into the energy sector. We did you did make mention of what the plan looks like in terms of alternative energy that is being generated and how the future looks like, because most of the people are worried because they don't have an idea at all whether, we will at one day get out of dependency on hydro generated power. But before that, let me give you this call. Good morning. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
Morning, Zach. Morning. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Thank you so much. We are speaking to Brother Chisha.
Brother Chisha, it's been a while, no?
Yeah, for sure. Indeed, it has been for a while.
Please, you're welcome.
Matongo, how are you?
I'm all right, thank you. How are you?
I'm very fine. A nice topic, Zach, and you have done well to bring Zesco on the platform.
Right.
Some of us, we have, you pardon me, I've just joined the program. I was busy with something somewhere.
Okay.
But the question I want to ask for Zesco spokesperson is that why is it there is a lot of inconsistency in your operation? Today you come and tell us to say you are going to divide load shedding in 4 hours, then it takes us to 12 hours, 14 hours. Tomorrow you hear that no, actually we are going back to 8 hours of load shedding. Again, you are not really keeping it according to what you are promising the Zambians. It is now reaching sometimes some areas 9 hours, 10 hours. Mr. Matongo, where is the problem with Zesco? Why is it that you always find it very difficult to stick to your timetable? In most cases, you don't stick to it. What could be the major problem with Zesco? And the last question is, why is it that Zesco had to increase from the connection fee? Previously, it was 1.7. Now this time around, we are talking about 6 point something to 17 in the residential area. What is the criteria of increasing of that much? Because I think if it was increment, why not increasing maybe to 2,000 quarter? From 1,700 to 6,000, 7,000. Mr. Matongo, is that really normal increment? Those are the questions. Like I said, Zach, I think you pardon me. Maybe I've asked him those questions before.
Yeah, they were handled before, except the increase. Yeah, not a problem. Thanks, Brother Chisha, for coming. Right. Let's handle that. And maybe you can connect to my question. It's a recap, I know, but it's important that we talk about the future of Zesco, how it's looking like today.
Okay, thank you very much. Philemon, I think I may have lost what he was talking about.
We lost him because his line.
Oh, we lost him.
Yeah,
Okay,
we lost him.
I thought
he didn't say
what
much.
He was
I think it's
about.
I think let's go straight into Brother Chisha.
So in terms of the aspect of inconsistency, I think we've talked about it quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There are some issues that are beyond our kind of unexpected that happened. Then in terms of the schedule, it's fortunate and unfortunate that we are listening to the customers, and again, the same customer is kicking us in the back to say, why are we doing this when we try to listen to the customer? Now, that doesn't mean that it's all of them that are saying that, and it's not all of them that are complaining in that situation. We have a situation where we have talked to, we've had people that have called in to say this is not working on radio stations. We do monitor, and people did complain a lot in terms of the schedules. And then we did make an adjustment. We did make an announcement and an adjustment. We always make an announcement when there are these major adjustments. That is for a fact. And then we continuously try to please to do what is best suited for the customer in the best possible way. So, and the range of customers that we have are very diverse. I know you want 4 hours. The other caller,
wants 8 hours.
He wants 8 hours. So just here within us, we have divergent views. So that is where that kind of perceived inconsistency may be. But once we are done with this survey, we are looking at now to say, okay, whoever will not want this, they will just have to adhere and accept that this
majority
is what is going to be for the rest of the year when we are running this load shedding schedule. So next week we may change or we may maintain, but we'll do make an announcement until we get something that is basically more agreeable to a wider sector of our customers. And then in terms of connection fee, I think this is something that was that has been discussed. The parameters that were looked at in terms of connecting customers with the actual costs. The connections were heavily subsidized, and that cost was being offset by Zesco, and running into more losses than the necessary losses that were needed. So it was that survey, that study that was done to say, if you need to connect electricity, even if you're not making a profit, the fee should be this much, and not this much, and not this much. So that is how that was arrived at. Otherwise, then you ask a question, if we connect at 2,000, and then the connection, as an example, is at 4,000, the actual costs. Because when you look at the actual cost, you look at the materials that you have to use, the time that you have to work on that one, the manpower that has to be involved in that. So when all that is calculated and the base is arrived at, then you look at, this is the basic cost. Before you even think of profits or maybe some what in NGO they call contingency, some in case of an emergency or something like that. This is the cost that is reflective of the production costs that you will incur when you want to connect, when you want to make a new connection. So that is basically what mainly informed that, because now the question was, who is going to offset this difference if we maintain this low price? And then the customer doesn't want to be connected at that real price. And then the corporation also says we cannot continuously incur this loss to connect customers. So this is the basic price that was arrived at to ensure that the company reduces its losses in terms of financial losses.
Mm-hmm. And now let's get to government's investment in alternative energy generation through Zesco.
So I'll mainly talk about Zesco itself.
Yes.
I am quite cautious to put government in play, because government has a lot of other entities that they are working with. And so in terms of Zesco, we are looking at through our strategic plan, it's looking at expanding our transmission, first of all, expanding our generation, expanding our transmission, expanding our distribution networks. So, and having a very good energy mix. So when you talk of energy mix, it means we were looking at the hydro still, we are looking at solar, we are looking at maybe geothermal, and these other sources of power, maybe wind and these others. So that in the strategic plan, which is running up to 2031, the 10-year strategic plan, we look at how do we now get to achieve all these, and where do we source, and how do we partner with others? Because for some, you just need to partner with the independent power producers, and then you get to have, the way we have Maumbi Collieries. Maumbi Collieries, they use thermal energy core. So from there, that's already another energy mix. But then with Maumbi Collieries, they also, twice in a year also, they have to go under maintenance, and their maintenance takes at least 30 days. So also to say, okay, if this one is off and this much of power is off, so where do we get this power from at that time? So we've got a number of projects that are looking at enhancing the generation, transmission, and distribution. For example, the line that feeds the northern part of the region, that is from the Pensolo substation in Serenje there, that is being expanded to enhance that line so that the distribution of electricity in that area, because when Pensulo goes off, it affects 5 provinces because of the way the line is. So the line is being improved so that if there's any fault, you can just isolate where that fault is and then bypass that, and the rest of the country remains on supply. Then we've also got areas where we are improving because the population has increased, so it means the consumption has also increased. Here we have Timothy, who was calling about low voltage issue. So, excuse me. So you have such areas where you need to have the proper capacity of electrical equipment to meet with the demand that is there, the ever-growing demand, so that you continuously invest in more infrastructure to have improved kind of electricity. And then there are also projects here and there throughout the country. Batoka Gorge, there's some improvement that is earmarked for there, working with Shubi Zimbabwe, and all other different power stations around the country. Some are not very operational, but we are looking at making them operational. But these are long-term kind of projects, which some are to start in 2025, 2026, going forward. So if we can get an opportunity, I can even invite our business development team that can actually propound better in terms of the nitty-gritties of the actual projects and where we may be standing in terms of what we have. But looking in the next 10 or so years, we'll have, unless otherwise, we'll have a different landscape in terms of the energy mix in Zambia. Because the independent power producers are also getting more interested, because also the regulatory framework is getting to improve in terms of relaxing the rules that come with the generation of power.
Let's talk of the immediate. Zambians right now are looking for at least hope in the immediate. What are the plans for Zesco in terms of investing in mitigating these problem now in the immediate?
So in the immediate, we have the solar. Solar is what, not even the immediate, in the medium term.
Right.
Yeah, because in the immediate, you look at tomorrow or next month.
Right.
In the medium term, we're looking at solar. If these projects that we have get online, then we would have some alternative source of energy, especially starting 2025. And then we'll have a better mix moving forward. And the issue now would be, how do we now sustain, manage, and ensure that we've got more of those that we've signed already in terms of power purchase agreements. Well, we have signed agreements to say we've agreed that we are going to buy power from Zach when he produces, say, 100 megawatts at this much, or for whatever period.
So you have a number of those agreements.
We have a number of those agreements. So what remains now is for you, Zach, who has said, okay, you have agreed that we'll purchase power from you, to now finalize in terms of your financing, to actually now put up that solar plant, so that now we start buying power from you.
And how many have so far started those
works? Actively, we've got 2.
Right.
That is in Serenge, 50 megawatts, and in Chisamba, that is almost starting. Then also Shangombo. I understand that the procedures have been done, and soon the contractors will be on site, and that project will be launched to start in terms of construction.
Yeah. Well, that sounds pretty much okay, and hope that the speed is enhanced. But otherwise, we're coming to the end of the program, and I would like your concluding remarks.
My concluding remark is the delays that we have, as much as they are frustrating, I think we can do better also as customers. That is too hot, because sometimes we may be seated thinking that it is an issue of Zesco being Zesco, because that is what we get, that Zesco is just inconsistent. They have never done anything consistent. Only to realize that it's actually vandalism that has happened in that area, and then a transformer is gone. From our end, we would have restored power to that bigger community, only to find the other smaller community that their transformer is gone, and they still don't have power, and they are thinking that it's extended load shedding, which they believe we are doing deliberately. So if we do get to receive, I would say within an hour, I think it's agreeable that there can be a delay within an hour because of switching off and on. That could be something agreeable.
So you can give yourself an allowance of an hour.
In everything that we do,
it should be a fault.
In most of the things that we do, there's plus or minus that an allowance that you can give. So they need to report so that we can check if it's a fault, and if it's a fault, we get to rectify. If it's vandalism, the transformer is gone. Like just in the first 3 months, January to December to March, we've had to replace at least 70 transformers, not by any fault, but by vandalism and theft. And we've lost close to 15 million kwacha just in 3 months, compared to 24 million the whole of 2023. So vandalism is on the rise. Some of them would like to, of course, we expect that it's expected that because of load shedding, people taking more advantage.
Yeah,
but
I was almost asking.
Vandalism only started on, load shedding only started on 11 March.
But there's been,
and these statistics start from January. And the cases are rising.
And what measures are you putting in place to ensure?
So in terms of vandalism,
that?
we are increasing our patrols, foot patrols, motorized patrols. We are moving with the motor vehicles, motorbikes. And also what is working very well is community sensitization. Where a community has been sensitized, 90% of the times, they are the ones that inform us of a vandalism issue. Either they prevent the vandalism or they report to us within a short time, and then they also get to identify the people that would have done the vandal. Because now it's no longer an issue of vandalism, there's also an issue of theft. They vandalize and they steal the Zesco installations, and then they sell to scrap metal dealers. Some of them are very big. There's a matter which is in court. I think it's coming up next week for commencement of trial, where they had huge consignments of vandalized and stolen Zesco transformers where they were getting out copper. So we did manage, working with the Zambia police, to arrest those people, and they did appear in court for mention. And at month end, they should be appearing for trial. So we are increasing on that and also doing the sensitizations. We also have a new project that is coming on board. We hope that by the end of this month or next month, it will come alive. This is working with the Ministry of Youth and Sport under the National Arts Council, which is called Youth Activists Against Vandalism, YAV. So that one will be working with youth activists, musicians, comedians, all sorts of people through the National Arts Council countrywide to ensure that we sensitize as many people as possible on the dangers of vandalism, because you find that vandalism takes away a lot of things from society. First of all, it takes away revenue from Zesco, and also it takes away power from the community. So it could be you are complaining that there's no power, only to realize that it's an aspect of vandalism that has happened. And then we get to resolve that, but then the loss is still there. We've made some arrests. Some people have been convicted. It's actually a criminal offense. You can get convicted up to 25 years with hard labor when you are convicted of vandalism. And we are busy every day. We receive some instances of vandalism, especially when you look at Lusaka, Copper Belt, Central, and Southern.
There's always been suspicion that these that do this are either employees or former employees of Zesco that understand how to navigate around it live wire on a transmitter. I mean, what are your statistics showing, like in especially in the arrests that you've so far made?
One thing that stands out is that they are very youthful. That is one. In some cases, yes, they are found the former Zesco employees. But in most cases, what we found is that it's people who are knowledgeable about electricity. So someone who's knowledgeable about electricity doesn't necessarily mean that they work for Zesco, but they have trained about electricity, they understand electricity and things like that. So in a few instances, yes, we've had some cases that have gone to court, convictions on public record, where some former Zesco employees have actually been arrested, convicted, and sentenced to 5, 6, 7 years in jail for involving themselves in such. But the majority of it all is looking at people who are knowledgeable about electricity connections that are able to do that. One other thing that we are fighting is illegal connections, where you find that a transmitter that is meant to, a transformer that is meant to service, say, 20 people, when we do audits, physical audits, when our team goes around in terms of those that are looking at revenue protection, they find that one transformer is feeding up to 50 people, and then they get to have regular power cuts, only to discover that it's actually the transformer is overused. And then in some instances, you find that the kinds of wires, they bypass the meters so that they can have supply throughout and without paying. So those we are clamping down on them. And it's also a criminal offense where now people are being jailed. So we are losing unnecessary revenue that is supposed to come to the corporation, so that we do invest in improving our generation, improving our transmission, improving our distribution. But with these things that draw us back, it makes it quite difficult now to start investing in those things. So even those, we are also doing community sensitizations. Last year, there was a program where the corporation actually did an amnesty. So where all those people who had illegal connections. So basically, an illegal connection is where Zesco has not done the connection. So if, say, most residential areas, not most, all residential areas are on postpaid, where you buy units. But a number of businesses are on prepaid, where you consume, then the bill at the end of the month. That's the system that we had way back. So sometimes we find that we have a non-compliant customer. We had one last week in the industrial area where they had not paid bills. And when our team went there, they had the mandate to disconnect. And the disconnection was basically switching off the main switch. That is an official disconnection. So that company, they paid about, I think, 70% or so. So now, the ones that did the disconnection were advised, you can go back and reconnect. But before they could go back and reconnect, they found that that company had already reconnected themselves, because it was just a matter of turning back the switch. Now, that's a crime, because only Zesco is mandated to turn that switch on or off. Until after that point, everything else is to be managed by Zesco. So we did manage to do some sensitization with that company and their electrician, who at the time that we had visited decided to disappear. But we did give them some sensitization in terms of the dangers, the consequences of that. And the penalty that we were given was just that they needed to pay in full now. We did a disconnection, and then the department would have checked to see if they were going to be penalized anything else, or the disconnection was enough. So all those kinds of things are what we are grappling with, besides the load shedding issue, which at the moment is actually taking center stage. There are a lot of other complications that we are fighting with, so that we ensure that we raise enough revenue, we supply safe electricity to the customers, which is reliable throughout the time.
Mr. Maumbi, thank you very much for having responded to our call to host you on this program. And I'm sure that most of the listeners really, evidently from their phone calls, do appreciate that you came and you clarified a number of things. And we appreciate that you did that.
No, thanks very much for the invitation. And please, I'm just a phone call away. If I miss your call, I'll definitely call back, so that information is power.
Indeed.
Once someone has information, then you reduce on misinformation.
Absolutely.
Because there's been a lot of misinformation, and also disinformation, where some people are deliberately giving out false information about load shedding and a few other things that are connected to the corporation. Thanks very much for the invitation.
Thank you. And well, listeners, that's what we had for you today on the Tuesday edition of The Burning Issue. And we would like to thank our partner radio stations, Tuta FM in Mansa. And thank you very much for carrying this program live. We are also live on Spice FM in Kabwe. Thank you so much. And Wave FM in Mazabuka as well. We appreciate that you did that. And to the rest of you that called in and took part in our program or conversation today, we appreciate. We will definitely be back this Thursday with yet another edition, and that's the Thursday edition of The Burning Issue. From us all, it's take care of yourselves and more so of each other. Bye-bye.
Tune in next week for another edition of The Burning Issue, and thank you for your participation.